Good afternoon, everyone. Oh no, that's bad, Bay Area. Good afternoon, good morning / afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. This is really a great opportunity for us to share really some early stage work that we are getting into. This is the story of labor in the labs. I love to start the story of the Workers Lab by talking about my family. This is my dad. That's my dad and I when we were kids, when I was a kid. My dad immigrated to the United States at 19, the youngest of 10 kids from one of the smallest islands in the Caribbean. He immigrated with a 9th grade education and ended up working at restaurants throughout the Bay Area as a dishwasher. In time, he became really good friends with the guy who delivered food to the restaurant. And when my dad and mom started having kids, the guy offered my dad a job. And that job was as a food delivery man to restaurants in the Bay Area. That job radically changed the course of my life and the course of my whole entire family's life, in large part because it was a union job. My dad became a teamster as a truck driver, and my dad with a 9th grade education and my mom with a 10th grade education had a daughter who had a PhD, in large part because they were able to buy a house, they had access to health care, they had room to be able to imagine a future without the scarcity that we heard about in Pollock's story of Maria. I and my co-founder and I, David Rolfe, really started the work of the Workers Lab because we refuse to be the last generation of people in this country that get to benefit from these amazing opportunities. The opportunities that are created by stable employment, that are created when workers are protected in the workplace. And we saw a real need to cultivate and create a place where leading entrepreneurs and organizers can start to imagine what the future of work and workers' rights look like in this country. You heard a little bit from Pollock, and I'm sure you all know, but unlike my dad, the pathways of opportunity that once existed are no longer around. We are seeing major dramatic shifts in the nature of work in this country. And I would go so far as to say is that we are not prepared for it. And so some of the startling statistics are that nearly half of college graduates are or underemployed. Today, more than in 2009, between 2009 and today, we've seen a 40% increase in temporary jobs. And frankly, we have seen the decimation and the decline in union employment in this country. And so we see at the Workers Lab a real need to start to venture into and create space and opportunity for entrepreneurs, technologists, for movement leaders and community organizers to start to partner together, frankly, in the model of Fair Care Labs, to look across the labor market and offer some real solutions. So this is what we do. That goes from like the downer part of the presentation to the upper exciting part of the presentation. We at the Workers Lab invest into really early stage startups, both for-profit and nonprofit, that are replicable, that are revenue generating, and that are frankly focused on building power for people who work in the United States today. We partner with for-profit entrepreneurs who are trying to think about how to pair low-wage workers to higher-wage jobs, and nonprofits who have a for-profit venture and need some business development and technology support in order to help lift it up and make it actually work in the world around them. So this is how we work. We're an accelerator. That's our core program to date. And I should have said this earlier, but we started in September, and the core thing that we've been able to sort of lift up in 9 months is this accelerator program where we provide $150,000 of financial support in a range of capital types. So we do everything from grants to convertible notes. We offer each of our lab partners a network of mentors, including people like Eric Liu that you heard today. We have entrepreneurs, we have branding and marketing consultants, in large part because what we've found is that people with great idea, when surrounded with the right resources, are more likely to make those ideas real. We provide them training, and so that really comes from some great leaders, Mariana Urquia, who does leadership training and support for each of our entrepreneurs, and Michael Bush, who teaches entrepreneurship. They've partnered together around the Workers Lab to support our lab partners really to come in with an idea and leave with a business plan and not sort of face the capital cliff, but be able to actually have a viable product or tool that they can take out into the marketplace. And lastly, we organize our lab in a cohort. So they function as a team together, working as co-solvers of the problems that they're trying to work on within the lab. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about each of our partners. So first is the Workers' Defense Project. Workers' Defense Project is an immigrant worker rights organization in Texas. Texas has the highest mortality rate on construction sites in the country. And they have done a ton of organizing to change policy, to change the policy landscape in which this work is happening, and realize that they could actually come up with a for-profit solution as well, or a market-based solution to this problem, and came up with the Better Builder standard. So think about LEED, but focused on actually improving construction, the quality and conditions on construction sites in Texas. And so they provide monitoring, they provide training, and they provide certification for developers in Texas. They are now Better Builder developers. And so they are really at the front end. They came to the Workers Lab and had been working on this idea and are now, just this last week we heard that they are in the running for $1 million contract with a developer in Texas, which is kind of amazing. Our next lab partner, who you'll hear from next, is coworker.org, but you'll hear from Jess Kutch next. What I'll say is that I think that Coworker is the most promising vehicle to think about organizing workers in this time, organizing workers who are often in dispersed workplaces that are a few at a time. And so I'm sure she'll tell you the story of Starbucks. And with them, what we're trying to explore is how do we support a nonprofit to start to develop a practice of thinking about the enterprises or the products and services that can help sustain their work in the long run. And so we are housing them as our co-learning partner at the lab. And then our last partner is a team effort. This is a partnership that came to us of the Everett program on gaming and social change at UC Santa Cruz, of Rock United, which is the largest network of low-wage restaurant workers in the country. And they got a special advisor, which is a young man by the name of David Ortiz, who was the lead developer for John Madden Football for EA Sports. And so this is the most unlikely pairing in our lab, but frankly the most fascinating, where we've learned to see the bridges in between sort of skills and sector, between movements and entrepreneurs. And so Rock has a really amazing training program where they are helping low-wage restaurant workers who are oftentimes tipped workers move into fine dining jobs where they can earn around $70,000 a year with benefits. The challenge with the training program today is that it's place-based and requires you to be in person. So workers in Detroit, here in New York, in Chicago and DC really get to benefit from the training. But Rock was really interested in expanding this training to workers across the country. And so with us, they're moving this training and building the curriculum onto a mobile platform so that low-wage restaurant workers have access to the training and to the learning from this curriculum on their phone and can actually sort of go through the training and get points on the training while they're on the bus, in between shifts, while, before going to bed, where they can actually, the training is actually responding to the conditions that workers are in, and they're generating revenue by product placement. And frankly, workers are paying for the product. They did a survey of their workers and found that 85% of them were willing to pay for a training on their phone if it helped them develop the skills to move within their industry. And so this is my call. This is my big call to action. I love to have partners. I would love for people in this room to get excited about our work and think about the ways that you can bring your unique skill or perspective on the issues that workers are facing to our work and to our lab partners. Secondly, I would love to invite you to make investments big and small. One of the things that I've realized in the last 9 months is that oftentimes it's a little bit of money and some resources help some of our leading thinkers actually take an idea and make them real in the world. And lastly, for a number of people in this room who are looking at things like social impact investing, I would invite you to put workers at the center of your value proposition. Oftentimes we look at products or tools and don't really take into account the impact that it will have on working people. And so I would love to invite you to make sure that we are not the last generation of people in this country that gets to benefit from these pathways of opportunities that once existed in large part by doing these 3 things. Thank you.